think I'd quite like to dispense with the formalities of trying to conduct a formal interview with the Mayor here and try to open it up as quickly as possible to questions, if that's all right with you. I think my 5 minutes in a room with Vera here has led me to believe that she's a very natural, warm person, and I think that will be the best format for this. However, what I do want to do is start by getting to know her as a person and as a politician, and start by asking you, 20 years ago, you were an English literature professor. Now you're running Bethlehem in extraordinary circumstances. What made you go from academia to politics?
The initial decisions that first, thank you for being here, all of you, and thank you, Sandra, for the invitation. Actually, I believe we develop in life, not only in our dreams, we develop in where we want to achieve, but I also believe that we develop in where we want to be when we are needed to achieve change. I believe that I have the capacity. In the middle of the way, I passed through a lot of challenges in my life, whether as a mother of 5, as a wife of a political detainee, or living in a city with a lot of challenges. I saw when it was time that I can be a factor in change. I said yes. So spent 21 years at Bethlehem University, but in the year 2010, I already decided to quit academia, and I became the principal of the Greek Catholic school. That school was going to close, and they approached me, we discussed issues together. I have seen that I have the capacity to go within the process and help in finding a new administration and new proposals. And we did it, by the way, within 1 year and a half. And when the moment came and I was asked to head the Fatah bloc in Bethlehem, in order to lead democratic elections for Bethlehem, I said, why not, Vera? I believe the city needs, I feel I can give. I already built that voice that already have the confidence that I can do it. And a very important factor, Bethlehem is as well the city of the message. Bethlehem is as well the city where the message of peace was born. And I've been raised there. Bringing all things together, Jane, it helped me to say yes and go for it.
So you had the personal self-confidence. You also had your faith that enabled you to feel you could rise to the challenge. But how were you viewed as a Christian, as a woman, in a divided city, in a divided region? How did people see you? What were the challenges you immediately had to face?
That is a very important question indeed, you know. When it started the process of elections, let us first speak about the smaller, which is inside the city, where, as you know, Bethlehem is part of Bethlehem district. Bethlehem district has 200,000 citizens, 38,000 are Christians, and the rest are Muslims. In the city of Bethlehem, which is the center of the governorate, and which has my electoral zone, Bethlehem, the city, just in the year 2008, President Yasser Arafat saying that there will be a clear change in demography, has a bylaw saying that in Bethlehem and other 6 cities in Palestine, the mayors should be Christians. Even if it is different in demography, but the mayor of the city should be Christian, and Christian and Muslims will vote for the Christian mayor. And by the way we live in Bethlehem as Christians and Muslims is very unique and exemplary. We live there as Palestinians. So in our council, we are 15 members. 8 are Christians, 7 are Muslims. the mayor is Christian and the deputy is Christian, but elected by Muslims and Christians, men and women. So the idea of that part is already within the consciousness of the city. And by statistical, Bethlehem municipality started as early as 1871. And by de facto, the mayor was always Christian. But with the demographic change, that was more empowered by environment. Now, the challenges on ground is needs somebody to believe that despite the challenges you have to go through, somebody has to lead the torch together. Not me only as a mayor, but a council. The challenge is not only for me. The challenge is for the citizens as well. The challenge is for the whole council. And that is why maybe we'll speak about the challenges of Bethlehem as part of parcel of a very important discourse that I'm very keen that everybody needs to understand.
Before we get on to the specific challenges of Bethlehem, though, what I'm curious about is still any challenges you may have faced as a woman. You are the first female mayor of Bethlehem. Did you experience any pushback because of that?
Of course, definitely. You know, I'm the first woman mayor in Bethlehem ever, and the second in Palestine. My predecessor was from 2005 till 2012 the mayor of Ramallah. She was a woman. And I'm the first in Bethlehem. By itself, you need twice as effort in order to prove yourself on the head of the table. First, to your council members. This capacity to have we live a patriarchal, masculine community where it is not only, by the way, our culture. It is all over the world. Still, we need a lot to do, a lot to go, honestly speaking. And so sitting there, speaking the logic, speaking my consciousness, in many instances, even I received a ridicule reflected in the eyes or in the facial expression that needed some effort to build that I can.
Right.
But one of the major things that I learned, if you want to achieve change in that council, whenever you need to say no, just say it. Know how to say it, but say it. Within my culture, to say no, it might be, unexpected. But I learned how to do it whenever it is needed, because if not, you will not speak out your voice. And speaking out of your voice, Jane, you encounter a lot of challenges as well, by itself.
Well, one of the challenges, I don't know if any of you Googled Vera before coming here, but in Wikipedia, the first line says that one publication noted her for her striking green eyes and her ambition. That was actually the opening line. So that's why I was asking you about the challenges of the world. So, but how do you overcome that prejudice? I mean, you can't just keep saying no and expect everybody to fall into line, or can you? Is that how it works?
No. I mean, usually we don't say no all the time, but whenever we need it, many women tend not to say it. One of the most important lines that I kept in my heart, Emu Jakafa, an American novelist and a poet, said, "Women speak 3 languages. The first is the language of men. The second is the language of silence. And the third is the language of queens." There is that sense of authority and confidence and compassion. Many women do speak the language of silence, and there when I said we need to say no, many do not say anything. at least in my culture, silence in many instances is a master. All right? So that was part of it. Knowledge is very important. Knowledge is a very important factor in facing my challenges. What do I mean with knowledge? Whenever you understand and you know, you can have better judgment and better argument. And your capacity and confidence will really put you on the table in a better manner. I remember a small incident, and this is what I like to share. In the first 3 months, you know, it's municipal, municipality, bylaws. Whatever we want to say, one of my council members is an attorney. He has a book inside his pocket. He just lifts the book and he says, this is not true. You cannot do this. As per the law, what you put on the table contradicts with the law. 1 time, 2 times. The third, by logic, I said, no, there's something wrong is going on. I decided to take 2 days leave and go to study the whole bylaws, understand them very, very well. I will never forget that experience. I took it 2 days because I said I need to take that decision. And by practice, things will be better understood. You know what I discovered? He built his argument on my ignorance. Okay? And then when I said, repeat please, because the second session came, I said, no, put that book in your pocket and it's over. Whenever we need something, and follow it. Knowledge was very important, and it helped me. That is another very important way to face it. Another thing, challenges. I'm a mayor, and when we talk about the discourse, we talk about municipality and citizens. We talk about people's need, citizens' need, citizens' obligations. And that dichotomy between obligations and needs sometimes create challenges. Maybe, and most probably, for citizens who did not elect you, for example. They start looking whatever is not achieved. Or whenever you said, no, we cannot do it, we cannot give a license. The mayor is the consciousness of the city if he wants to succeed, or she wants to succeed. But the consciousness of the city in many instances, if going as is, finds challenges, rejection. And that is another third part of the challenge that I face. Sometimes people, they say, well, we need a license, and they said no. It's the council who said no, it's not Vera Baboun alone. It's a board decision, it's a council decision. But usually it's the mayor.
It's your fault.
It's your fault. That's it.
Can I just ask, who here has actually been to Bethlehem?
Ooh.
Okay. Well, for those of us who haven't, could you explain what it's like living in this city?
Remember, Bethlehem is the city of the Nativity. And Bethlehem is part of the Palestinian context. So let me talk about both. Bethlehem, as part of parcel of Palestine, suffers what takes place on ground in Palestine. Most unfortunate, now we have a wall that separates Bethlehem from Jerusalem. It is not only a wall that separates, but always the wall hinders mobility, hinders vision, hinders capacities. A wall creates a dichotomy, a binary. Those who are inside, those who are outside. And it happens that me as a mayor, the citizens of Bethlehem, we are the ones who are living inside the wall. Inside the wall means a lot. And in many instances, I ask myself, we live in Bethlehem, the city of hope, of peace, of love. Many young people lose hope and they get in that despondency. But we are in the city of hope. How can we? It creates that conflict, that inner conflict. On the other hand, Bethlehem, as the rest of the Palestinian cities, still, and due to the absence of the peace resolution, still, I don't know if you are aware, that after Oslo, the Palestinian territories were divided into 3 zones. Zone A, which is under the administration and security of Palestinians. Zone B, under the administration of the Palestinians. Security under the Israeli security. Zone C, which comprises 62% of the 1967 Palestinian territories, which is supposed to become the state of Palestine, are Zone C. 62% under the administration and security of Israel. It means, for me as a mayor, I cannot make any project in Zone C without referring or taking the permit from the Israelis. Today, Jane, we've been in Ecuador attending the Habitat 3 convention, and we were working, all of us, on the new urban agenda. And the new urban agenda depends on the concept of urbanization as important for sustainable development. The right of every individual to the city and its services. But in order to have a city in the sense of your city, you need to have land that you have control over. When it comes to the right to water, to electricity, to medical services, to all what a city can bring to make a dignified living. This is a very serious challenge.
So how do you prioritize? You know, you have mass unemployment, you have security issues, you have a wall. How do you pick your priorities and say, okay, this is what I'm going to focus on so that all the people that didn't vote for you can't moan too much?
You know, sharing the citizens is very important. And every year we do, and you know, our strategic plan for the municipality, you know, we develop, you know, we study the strategic plan, and we meet with the people. We study our strategy, but remember, we are not the only institution. We are not the only body on ground. We are the ones to make things seem easier. Remember, Bethlehem is as well a touristic city, a pilgrimage, and we need to keep on that mobility in order to keep the spirit going on, active. Economy is important. So one of the major challenges for us, due to the fact on ground, the war, and is the economic situation. And that is my challenge. Bethlehem has the highest rate of unemployment in the West Bank, 27%. Thinking of it, at the same time, it has the highest rate of educating young people. By the way, the literacy rate in Palestine is 95.8% literacy. And that is, everybody in Palestine, it's for us, it is not a national right only. Education for us is a national duty, a mode of resistance. But in the mere end, you end with educated people living in a wall, in many instances working in jobs that have nothing to do with their specialty. By itself, it affects their creativity, even their existing in the city. That's why many opt to leave.
Have you seen this with your own children?
Unfortunately, no. Unfortunately,
Fortunately, no.
Fortunately, no. Sorry, yes, Nadine. But Nadine is here. I need my daughter here. And she's, of course, fortunately now, they, maybe, by the way, one of the most important reasons when I said yes to be a mayor, when I saw their eyes. In their eyes, I saw what a future we are leading them to. Maybe I can help in my place as a mayor, as a woman, as whatever. I said yes, looking in the eyes of all the young people. And again, Bethlehem is that human, universal place. So even I am Palestinian, but in the back of my mind, I also relate to humanity par excellence.
One of the issues that you addressed in Habitat 3, as I understand it, is to ensure that all citizens have equal opportunity and are involved, which means women, young girls in particular. Do you see yourself as a role model for women who want to become politically engaged, who want to become elected?
I think so. You know, but sometimes maybe some other women will say no. But I know in whatever I do, in my mind I keep to give the best example in the way I carry it. And mainly, two very important factors. In order to be a role model, I listen attentively. I listen attentively, and I reply honestly and decently. That is very important, honestly. And for me, the role model is not the post. The role model is the way you act in the post. That is the role model. Many women might come leaders, but at the end, you feel disappointed. And there resides a challenge that I faced maybe for almost the last 10 years as a woman. A role model is a man or a woman who carries the sense and responsibility of leadership. Leadership at home, leadership at school, leadership at work, not necessarily leadership as mayor or president. So, once I read Robert Frost's Road Not Taken.
Can you remember it?
I cannot recite it,
Okay.
but it is the road not taken, where a passenger went in through two different, crossroads.
Yes.
I was a teacher and teaching that at Bethlehem University. I'm a professor of English literature. And the passenger went in that crossroad, not knowing to take that road or that road. But at the mere end, he decided to take the road not taken, the road that not anyone before has taken. And he says in the last stanza, there was the difference. It took me years. Yeah. It took me years to understand road not taken by others. Though it has a lot of challenges, and you have a lot of pain, and you have to pay a lot, but in that road I learned that only change takes place in that road that you take. And all my life, I've been taking roads not taken before. Being the first mayor not taken before. Even starting to study and do my master's while my husband was in prison, was a political detainee. A mother of 3 children, 2 years old and 5 years old. All these roads, untaken roads, made me today. And in that road not taken, I started to understand شو يعني leadership, what it means to be your own leader. The choice was the answer. I have chosen this, not that. Many women, Jane, many women, they do not choose well. And leadership in choices is much, much more important than choices in leadership. I hope that I can make it clear. And this is what I believe was my challenge, but as well my reward.
In a moment, I want to ask you about your perception of some of the choices that America has made in the last week. And I don't want to get too political about this. I don't know how we're not, but anyway. But are there any questions from what you've heard so far?
Can I just reply on this?
No. I'm practicing what you preach. No.
Okay.
We'll come back. There is a question in the front.
Yes, my question will be this: where do you go from here? Because for me, I've known Vera since 2003. Pardon my stuffy nose allergies. Anyway, we connected all those.
Sorry, who are you?
Okay, I'm so sorry.
It's all right.
My name is Sami Doctor. I've been working with Vital Voices Global Partnership for 17 years, and other organizations doing peace and security work. For me, Vera sets a very, very high example of where a woman living under so many adverse conditions, and the fact that she became a widow during all of this, raised these kids, made sure they had a great education. Oh, I'm sorry, now you hear me even louder with my stuff. But I've watched her, I've listened to her actually more, and learned so much. When she wanted to run for mayor, and she called me one day and said, you know, I've decided to run for mayor. And I got nervous for her. And I thought, oh wow, you've made it so far, you've done so much. And she said, no, I think it's something I need to do. So I felt like if she got that break, it would open the road for a lot of other people, not just women, but people who have been afraid to step up to that leadership role. And I have so much to thank Vera for, especially her friendship. But I think going forward, she could run for president of the country. I don't really think this is where she stops. So I wish you all the luck in the world, and I thank you for all you've educated me about, and I admire you, and I can't wait to talk to your daughter. Okay.
That is an interesting point there. We're talking about role models here and breaking through barriers. Is it enough to do that, particularly when we're in this extraordinary global situation? I mean, you're an insurgent yourself, a political insurgent. You know, you won the mayorship against all the odds. Do you feel that globally we're looking for something more than just a role model?
Yes.
And particularly among young people?
Yes. You know, this is a very important point. Is it simply a role model, or more than that? If we stick our sights only to a role model, we will not make it. Sometimes things on ground, reality on ground, it create a model that has never been there before. So that's why I believe, after all what I have experienced being a professional, an academician, and then, before being a mayor, I never had a woman, a role model, that has been a mayor. You see? Never. I don't remember I spoke to Jeanette or to any other mayor ever. So the role model is a model that we accumulate in our understanding toward our own nation and globe. That is why for me, Jane, when I said knowledge is very important. And sometimes the role model put us in a mirage or on a mirage that we fail to achieve the same. Okay, maybe somebody else will contradict that opinion, but for me, you create your own, and then how much you can give and help develop, assist, will bring of you a model, a role model.
That leads me on to my political question.
Yes.
In traveling around the country covering the election, I spoke to a number of young women who said that they were not going to vote for Hillary Clinton because for them there was no glass ceiling to break. They didn't care that she could become the first female president, and there was a lot of emphasis at the time that, you know, this was part of what people might be voting for. Are we as women wrong in presenting women as role models because they are women? Are we missing the point here? Is this, I think that seems to me to be part of what you're saying, that it's not enough anymore to say, well, here is the first woman president, here is the first woman mayor of Bethlehem. There has to be something more.
We lose it.
You lose it.
We lose it. You know, to elect a woman, to support a woman to become in a special place, is not because we seek that or to create a role model. As long as we understand where we are going to achieve one very important factor only, not the role model, as much as how much we women understand and seek change from the perspective and the consciousness of women. Yes. You see? So that's why if we work together, but by the way, I'm a believer in how much we complete each other, men and women. Unfortunately, men do not, in many instances, believe that women can complete them, and vice versa. But the notion is, yes, it's a matter of completion, at least for me, okay? But the fact that we look for a role model and running after that role model, we forget the main issue. The fact itself, the one itself, being there. Because when we lose the role model, we lose it all.
I saw a young lady. Oh. Hi. Can you tell me who you are and before you actually ask a question?
Sure. My name is Lauren Sauer. I work for IFAS. And I was very, I had women's political empowerment as part of the programs that I've implemented in different places, particularly in Asia. And I was just, this code, you didn't quite express it this way, but I've seen the issue of silence for women being a real barrier, particularly in meetings contexts, and they've spoken about it as a barrier in terms of being able to speak out, to speak their mind in meetings and these kinds of settings. I've seen them very, very bright young women, not take that seat at the table. I mean, these are things that happen here too, but when we've talked about what are ways that you can insert yourself, you can bring your voice to the table, done role plays, etc. The continuous, we hear it's not natural. I don't feel it's natural for me to be able to speak up, to be able to voice out, my thoughts or my thinking. And I'm just wondering, when there is that a lack of a culture of women being able to contribute in those kinds of settings, what are ways that you would encourage women, or what would you say to women who say it's not natural for me, not just for me personally, but it's not the norm, it's not what I'm used to. How do you help women to overcome those challenges?
Let me give you an example of the municipal councils. In Palestine now, we have 20% of the municipal councils per code. Okay? So whatever we do, 20% of the council, there should be women. In my council, 15, 3 women, 12 men. In some of the rural areas, in village councils, there are women all over. In every council, there are women. But, and the big but, how do women in council take real advantage of this law of, sometimes people are against the quota, some are with, but it's a de facto, it is there. This quota enabled women to be in this council. The question, how much women council members take really good advantage when they are there? First, the law is with them. Second, they choose to be and they choose not to be. That's why we go for empowerment, we go for training, we go for a lot of sessions to make things clear. But women usually, either they choose to speak or not, but in many others, they seem and they say, well, culturally, we cannot speak. For example, night council meetings that start at 5, council members say we cannot attend them at 5. Family, my husband. I know I'm not talking utopian, but I believe and still believe that woman is the master of her own choice. She either decides to say yes or to bring any excuse to say I cannot. And by the way, even when you want to express your voice, there are different ways of expressing your voice. There is no need to go in conflict. Today I cannot do it, tomorrow I can do it. The secret resides in how we present our image to the other. How we as women voice can present our voice to the other. Today I fail, tomorrow I will succeed. Let it be strategically built. Strategically built. Politics is not only in politics when we elect. If I can move this, I believe sometimes you need this politically acting. And when we say politically, it's a matter of thinking of it, taking steps. The problem is that many women are not aware of what it means to be politically thinking, politically acting in the way and the attitude.
I think there was a broader question here, though, which is how do you make that jump, that leap of confidence to decide that you are going to speak? You know that you have the law on your side, you know that you have society backing you, maybe you don't, but how do you, what goes on in your head when you feel that you're being undermined or you shouldn't speak or culturally this is not appropriate? How do you make that leap?
It is the accumulation of experiences that you went through in life.
So you have to be older. That's what she's saying.
Accumulation of experiences. You know, you learn more. You learn. But even maybe someone will spend years learning, but she doesn't. She doesn't decide. She doesn't choose to use this accumulation of expression. You know what? Sometimes we think that when we express ourselves, we will find resistance. On the contrary, when we express ourselves, completely on the contrary, we create for ourselves our own.
Everyone falls over in shock, I think, is my experience of that.
I don't know. We create our own, you know, right. But just express it. Let it be.
Okay. Being a woman, as you told me, sometimes it makes Jihan Al-Husseini from Al Hayat newspaper.
No, we're just going to get you a microphone so we can all hear you. Yes, over there? There.
Jihan Al-Husseini, the Hayat newspaper. Yesterday you told me being a woman makes your job easier. At the same time, being a woman makes you struggling. You should make a double effort to prove yourself to succeed. Could you please explain? Also, would you please tell us about the immigration of Palestinians out of the country, Christian and Muslim, especially Christian? Thank you.
Yes, it's not only the dark side of the tableau. It is not always a real challenge, and it is. I faced a lot, as I mentioned. But in many other instances, being a woman was an advantage. Internationally, it was an advantage. The woman mayor in Bethlehem, in that patriarchal community, coming from, elected, that was a real positive, advantageous factor. Even in many instances, when it comes to citizens. In Palestine, women are respected, by the way. And whenever I have citizens, men coming and they have problems, sometimes I question if the one sitting behind the desk is a man. I bet this citizen would have quarreled with the mayor. But me being a woman, they simply reflect a respect. And it facilitates the process. More than one project taking place in Bethlehem. You know, streets and different projects. Our architects and our engineers, when they come to the peak, there are problems sometimes in the execution with the citizens. They call me. Say, Mrs. Mayor, please will you come to the project, to the, what do you call it? To the site. When I go, is it the mayor or the woman mayor? Still, I'm not sure. Is it the mayor that when they're talking with the citizens, giving them? But whatever is a problem there, in a site, we talk together, it doesn't take long and it is resolved. Is it the authority that they see they want to feel relaxed from? Or simply the woman figure that stands? And for me, in all times, that was part of the advantage. I cannot say it is rosy, and I cannot say it is dark. No, it has been both.
And the second part of the question about immigration,
How
how do you
out
deal
of
with
the country?
how do you deal with that changing demographic?
You know, that is a very important question, Jane, and that is affecting the demography and the whole discourse of the Palestine-Israel issue. Since you ask about the Christian immigration, Christians in Bethlehem and in, Palestine after 1948, we had Palestine and Israel. We had different political regimes. We have the Ottoman period, we have the British, and then that. So people tended to immigrate to seek better life. In specific, the Bethlehemites, the Christian Bethlehemites, really traveled and immigrated to Latin America, to Chile, Honduras, San Salvador, some to the United States. But what happened critically, that in 1967, after the West Bank was occupied, all the Palestinians who were outside Palestine lost their ID national number. The moment they lost their ID national number, they lost the right to come back as citizens. Whoever now is in Chile before 1967 can come only as a visitor, and they take the visa from Israel. By time, and with the current situation in the West Bank, by the way, the West Bank is, every city has walls, either all around the city, or in specific northern borders or southern. But walls are there, checkpoints are there. Abnormality is there. Abnormality is living is there. So, with the level of educated young men and women, people who prove themselves in every place we were in, including the United States, including the Arab world, including South America, Palestinians, where they go, we depend on education, so we can give. We ended today in regard to the Christian, because demographically we are less in number. Today in Chile, for example, we have 300,000 Christian Bethlehemites. 300,000 Christian Bethlehemites. While in Bethlehem we are 38,000. And the Bethlehemite in Chile and USA, and I did the first Diaspora convention on October to bridge between our young children and us, and then myself did not believe it.
It's incredible, actually.
That's incredible.
These numbers are amazing.
And by the way, immigration brings birth or gives birth to immigration. And when we talk about a political solution and a need for a political solution where the state of Palestine is acknowledged and recognized, we talk not about borders simply. We talk about a right to be, a right to life, a right to bridging. So this scattered existence of us Palestinians will be really recognized to become a unity, and that's why these 2 days when I'm here, I need to express that I was totally shocked. The Palestinian cause is hardly mentioned in all the speeches I heard. Today, everybody talks about the conflict in Syria, in Libya, in Lebanon, in Arab Spring in Egypt. But it's still the origin of the origin is not resolved, but highly and hardly is expressed.
I've noticed that in my interviews with the BBC. It seems to have become very
What
much
does
an
that
afterthought.
mean?
I don't know. You tell me, what does that mean?
What does mean? Okay. As if the Palestinian cause, the Palestinian people, because the cause is equitable with people, is not existing, or they do not want our cause to be existing in consciousness.
Now, is this something you experience in the Arab world as well as in the West?
No. Now the Arab world is suffering from all the conflicts that it goes through. And yet, remember, when we talk about Palestine, we talk also about Jerusalem. We talk about the religious entity, which is very important and part and parcel, So we relate all to that entity. But the new conflicts appearing makes the Palestinian cause as if it is not existing anymore. While we in Palestine today, we succeeded to build our governments, our institutions. We are on the track to build that neighboring entity between us and the Israelis. In 1948, we recognized as Palestinians the state of Israel. In 1993, after Oslo. And as much as we lose time, as much as the territory changes, as you know, since Oslo, the number of the settlers in the 1967 increased to 600,000. This affects the reality of the state of Palestine and its achievement. And
what would your message be then to the new administration coming into power now? Bearing in mind that previous administrations, President Obama failed to reach a peace deal over Palestine. what would your advice be to Mr. Trump?
Why do they fear peace? Peace is not a good. Peace is not a beast. It seems that everybody fears that. Fears why? Fears from whom? I have no idea. My message will not be only the state of Palestine. My message is about why are you all reluctant from approaching the cause? This is the question. This is my message. This is the message. Usually, as I said, sometimes we fear to speak, but when we speak, we find it's not a problem. Why are we fearing to put that issue on the table? And I always believe Palestinians and Israelis can live together and give the best example to all nations. It is the political will. It is the political will.
The lady in the front.
Hello, I'm Ismira with U.S. Congresswoman Gwen Moore's office, and I thank you so very much for the description you gave us earlier about the effects of the wall that separates Bethlehem. It was beautifully profound and poignant, and it was like salve to the rhetoric we hear these days from Donald Trump. But my question to you, as the mayor of Bethlehem, have you been able to establish sister cities with other municipalities around the world that share similar challenges as the ones you described, with the economic indicators, the high literacy rate, the low the high joblessness rate, et cetera? Have you had any success with the establishment of sister cities?
You know, it is Bethlehem, and that's why all the sister cities, by the way, we have the highest number of sister cities, I think, in the world. 85 sister cities.
Big family.
And it's because of the nativity. This is the reason, you know, the nativity. People through the, you know, trying to do the sisterhood. And the wall is unique. We are the only nation now living in the wall, so no other city is walled, thank God, except us in Palestine, up till this moment.
We're not going there.
So, right? I think we are the only nation
Time will tell.
today that is walled. And so I do not have a sister city with any other walled city. God, with the experience that we live, the wall is numb. The wall, by time, psychologically speaking, emotionally speaking, by time will be internalized. And that's my fear.
Do you think that if all the tourists who came to Bethlehem had to pass through the wall rather than fly over it, that something more would be done?
I thought this would do something with President Obama. You know that President Obama came to Bethlehem. And he was supposed to come by the helicopter. Suddenly, while we were waiting for the president near the Nativity, there was a big, windy, haphazard, what do you call it, a windy...
Haphazard does it for me.
Sandstorm.
Weather thing, sandstorm.
Sandstorm. It took us 2 hours. Maybe the sandstorm will stop, it didn't. So they changed their decision
Schedule.
that the President Obama will enter Bethlehem in a convoy, in a car. And that's what happened. I remember when I talked to President Obama in the middle of the Nativity Church. I told him, Mother Nature had a message. Mother Nature suddenly spoken. And that sandstorm prevented you from looking at the wall from up. The Mother Nature put her language on a table and you were forced to go through the wall to see it. Please listen to the message of our Mother Nature. Many leaders who come and visited Bethlehem come through the wall, entered through the wall. It's the matter of not seeing the wall as much as have a sight of how to see the wall. Unfortunately, up till this moment, not one leader had the capacity to have a sight rather than seeing. And symbolically speaking, and that's what's created me even as a faithful and a citizen of Bethlehem. Bethlehem is a city of peace. Bethlehem is a city that gave the whole world the message of peace, right? For Bethlehem to be walled, that by itself needs a lot of questioning. And I remember every time I stand to enlighten the Christmas tree. By the way, December 3rd is the enlightening of Bethlehem tree, Christmas tree. I always stand there to give the main speech. And I said, we pray that peace will be witnessed in the world. I dream to say, thank God, one day I do dream to stand there in order not only to say we pray, I wish to stand there and say, thank you God for enabling humanity and leaders to achieve peace. Up till this moment we are failing.
Oh my goodness. I'm going to try and get to all three of you fairly quickly. So please.
Thank you. My name is Stacy Schamber, and I was in Bethlehem in 2012. I attended the lighting that year, and I heard you speak after you were elected. I was there on Christmas Eve too, so Trafna, and thank you for being here today and your words. I spent some time in 2012 and 2013 in Jerusalem and traveled through both Israel and the West Bank. And when I spoke with people who had worked on both sides for peace and justice, many people felt disheartened at that point in time. And I'm just wondering, listening to you speak now, what do you envision as the future between Palestine and Israel? And what could you and others do at this point in history to work together to move forward? Thank you.
I know one thing. When Israel was recognized, it was recognized by the world community. Period in life. And the right of the Palestinians should be recognized by the world community as well. What is now on the table? Direct negotiations or having other helping in the process. We failed direct negotiations because there is a very important factor. It's a relationship between the occupier and the occupied. There is an imbalance in the power. Who's negotiating who? And even when Mr. Kerry was there, he tried, but it's different. Didn't work.
So do you need political change in Israel? Is that part of the solution?
Yes. It is very crucial to understand that this political change, now we have a political change in the US. I don't know what will take place in my part of the world, but sometimes the question is the political change that bring a peace or bring different results? I'm not sure.
Can the US?
I'm not sure.
Can the US still play a role as peace broker though?
Definitely.
So you still have confidence?
Definitely,
in the role of the US?
if they choose to. And this is my message now. We cannot lose time anymore. And
I'm going to take the next question, lady over there.
Thank you. I had the pleasure to be in Bethlehem as a graduate student in 1987. I arrived by car. Here's my question. I'm working on a USAID project that focuses on public policy and environment. Can you talk about the environmental degradation and the impacts of the wall? Because as we know, the environment can deepen poverty. So give us a status report on the environment. The natural environment, soil, water, biodiversity of Bethlehem today.
Thank you. You know, one of the most important challenges in Bethlehem is water. And water brings riots. Water brings resistance, internal, because people want to drink. People want to live. That was one of the major challenges in Bethlehem is the water scarcity. As per Oslo, we cannot dig. We cannot dig for water. We usually buy the water from the Israelis or the Palestinian, you know, the water Palestinian authority. They do also, and we buy from both parties in Bethlehem. But this is a very important challenge. We're talking about climate change. Now we as municipalities, we are signing the climate change issue. We are talking about waste management. By itself, recently we had our Higher Joint Council and our landfill. But one of the real challenges in Bethlehem, we don't up till this moment have wastewater plant. To have that wastewater plant, the majority is in Area C. And by itself, this is a real challenge. And so it affects the environment dramatically, since we in Bethlehem, the area is hilly. And not having a wastewater plant at this moment as well is affecting the environment in Bethlehem. The closure and Area C is very critical in achieving whatever you can achieve in your city. That is what I want to say, the environmental challenges for us.
Question there.
First of all, thank you so much for coming and speaking with us today. My name is Marian Hale. I'm at the International Republican Institute. My question is about the current internal conflict within Fatah. I'm wondering, from your perspective, how the conflict with Dahlan supporters and those who do not support Dahlan that has resulted in a complete standstill and the unlikelihood of local elections going forward, as well as violence just yesterday in Nablus. How Fatah members can move past this conflict and unite so that they can make more political progress with Hamas and hopefully with Israelis in the future, and in particular, what female politicians' role can be in solving this internal dispute. Thank you.
You know what is my question to you? Honestly. We are talking and asking about reactions rather than asking the original question, the action. As long as this peace process and the recognition of a state is there, we will ask a question about the internal breach between Fatah and Hamas. We will start talking about Fatah and Dahlan. And God knows what a new phenomena will appear if things will remain lurking. My question is, and my reply to you, as long as there is no adamant, clear-cut recognition of the state of Palestine and its people, not only your two questions will appear, God knows what other three questions will appear as well. As long as this peace process is absent, we will always remain asking about reactions. The conflict is there, the breach is there, and all due because no real actions were taken to resolve. That's all my reply. And I pray that in the future we'll not witness a new phenomena or wherever. Permit me, but this is what I feel is the reply.
The lady there, please.
My name is Maureen Shea. Thank you. I was in Bethlehem, the West Bank, and Jerusalem in October, and one of the things that's always struck me visiting there is the strength and resiliency of Palestinian women. And some say that Oslo pushed aside some of the women leaders who had come up before that, and obviously you're an exception, but I wonder if you're seeing more women leaders, a resurgence of that. The movie Boudris had the wonderful young woman, and yet that it's not clear that her leadership, that's translated to other places. And so I'm wondering what your sense is of women as leaders. I see them as the women as so strong there, but I'm not sure how many get, as you have so skillfully done, to be active politically.
I fully agree, by the way. We still need, Palestinian women are capable, resilient, educated. They went a lot in Palestine. They are capable, but let us track. In negotiations, we don't have a woman negotiator. Here,
And a current.
direct on the table. One, okay, we have one. Zaha, clear يكون, all right? We need numbers because still we had a lot to do. Ministers, women minister, at least in every government we have from 3 to 4 women ministers. I believe we still need a lot to go for when it comes to the political representation. Yes. And sometimes I ask, is it simply women up not to, or they are not given the opportunity? And it might be the other one.
But when you look at America, there are half a dozen governors out of 50 states. So clearly, this isn't a Palestinian problem, it's not an American problem, it's a global
It's a
problem.
global problem.
What do you do? If you need to be more than a role model, how do you connect with the next generation of women? How do you encourage them to step up to the plate? How do you do this?
You know what?
Answer in 10 seconds.
When I said women, some women speak the language of men. That makes the difference. For example, we have a lot of issues as women, but whenever we express ourselves, each will express her own ambiance and her own nation, and we forget our global gender language as women altogether. Whenever we start understanding the difference between this and that, I think we can achieve. One of the most important classical plays, Aristophanes. Remember Aristophanes. When men decided to go to war every night, every day, every night, in both cities, women decided to stop it. Each woman forget her loyalty to her city. They started thinking to be loyal to their gender and human entity. And both agreed, you want more? Stay outside homes. They kicked out all the pillows and then
Putting it bluntly, they stopped having sex with their husbands. Well-known tactic.
So, but you know what is that? Women spoke one language.
Yes. And so did men.
So did men. You see, we cannot speak a language that reflects women are doubly victimized. Women are really carrying whatever takes place out of these lunatic wars all over the place. Women trafficking, women slavery, a lot of victimization for women all over the place, all over the continents, and still we are not capable to speak women language. Still, I don't know.
So we need to be talking to each other.
Yes, despite disparities.
So I had 2 things on my mind as you were speaking. The first one was Ellen Sterling Johnson. When I don't know if you can hear. Oh, sorry. In Liberia, I was going to show you one example. In Liberia, the president, Ellen Sterling Johnson, she had someone under her who decided to organize the way you were talking about a few minutes ago, to get rid of Charles Taylor, to get rid of the wars. They were sick of the wars. The women surrounded where the men were meeting because there were no women in there. They wore white. They told the men they could not leave the building until they made peace. There were miles of women sitting in white on the ground. They cooked no meals. They told them they couldn't come home. And this went on for days. And when it finally happened, that she told the people in that house that were trying to negotiate about the war, they were going to take their clothes off, which was a sin in Liberia for a woman to do that. The men reneged. They came out, they got rid of Charles Taylor, and the peace actually happened for a period of time. I think it was the voices of all of the women speaking to one another in that country and having a strong woman as president, setting an example for everyone else. One of the women won the Nobel Peace Prize. Terrible, because I can't think of her name for a second, but it'll come back. The other thought I had, and I've been talking about this a lot with women's groups, I would like to see a Women's United Nations. This is something that I feel, if there are 2 or 3 representatives from each country, and the women gather once a year for a general meeting, and then these councils meet regularly, there's a way for them to communicate with each other. This is the time, I think, there are many women out there that are leaders who can guide us. And, all right, Hillary didn't win this time, but I think she'd be a great member of a council like that. And other women who can bring their voices, but it's a solidarity that I seek, that I hope, that these issues can be openly discussed, and they go on in every country. And I'd like to keep working with other nations to work on this project.
So would you be part of the Women's United Nations? Is that the way you see women moving forward?
It would help. It might help.
Okay, it might help, but not as, imagine if we say we need a Man United Nations. You see? And we add that. Maybe Sonny. Women have the opportunity to speak within the umbrella of the United Nations, within the different thing. But to put it within exclusively Women United Nations, as if you create another disparity, Maybe, I don't know, this is what I believe, as women need to speak together and listen to each other together in a forum. That is very important, and that is very crucial. But the Women United Nations, it might, by itself, it will be put
Exclusionary.
Yes, exclusion, and we don't want to do that.
No, I agree with you that. The last thing, I'll just interject. When you said a council, maybe that's a safer way to put it.
Yes.
But so many people want to exchange ideas from every meeting I've ever been to with women coming from other countries. It's just a way to connect.
Yes.
Sonny, while we're talking about ideas, one thing I haven't touched upon is social media and women. Now, do you see social media as empowering women, particularly in the Arab world, or does it just get lost in the ether?
No, come on. We need now to have a real question about what social media is doing now, not only for women or men, or no, the discourse as a whole. The
Not
discourse
good.
as a whole, yes. Sometimes, how much even social media is even supporting a reality or jeopardizing a reality, and how much we are using it correctly. And that this is another factor in relation to social media, though I'm a researcher in gender issues, and in specific in the use of information communication technology to empower women. How much we can use this discourse, this social media to empower women rather than the other way around. But I believe today many do not use social media as a medium of empowerment. It's the way we need, though it's a very important medium, you know?
So it's more of a medium of oppression.
In many instances they are. In many instances they are for empowerment, but it's the way, it depends on the attitude and the agenda and the way we use it. It's a sword of two edges.
Yes.
It's a sword of two edges.
I'm going to ask quickly, how are we doing for time? We are? We're fine? In that case, if there are no more questions, you want a quick one? Oh, two, okay. Coming up a little bit.
As the mayor of Bethlehem, do you have the opportunity, my name is Sharon Kotak. As the mayor of Bethlehem, do you have the opportunity to work with a lot of both local and international NGOs? And some of the NGOs that I think would be very helpful would be like the New Story Leadership, Peace Now, the New Israel Fund. I think they would be very helpful and very sympathetic.
So the question is, are you working with NGOs?
Yes.
I imagine the answer is yes.
Not exactly.
Okay.
No, not exactly. You know, when we work with, as municipalities, we go into partnership, we go into support. It's a different thing. It's the work of the municipality is a little bit different than, you know, working with NGOs. Actually, it's not that way.
So do you work with them?
Do you remember the NGOs, the local ones, are within these, you know, organizational strategy and structure? We support in some events we do, but the municipality usually does not completely build its relationships with NGOs because they support the NGOs. And they are, you know, when we talk about international, for example, when we work with the AFD as a French, USAID as American, the Italians, but when it comes to NGOs, they are institutions under the even overall of the work of the municipality. When it comes to licenses, when it comes to some activities that NGOs propose. For example, we have the Peace Center in Bethlehem. So whenever we have activity relating to the message of the municipality, or let us talk, for example, about the Festival of the Olive Trees. This is some kind of cooperation between the municipality and a lot of NGOs that work in olive trees. And or for example, we have another, the Festival of Bethlehem, during May and June. Yes, we have NGOs that work in culture, and it depends on the nature of the work. We have to create that kind of partnership.
And do you want to work with more of them? I think so. Yeah, maybe not. And one last question.
I wonder about what I heard about the Palestinian, the children Palestinian who are active on social media, and there is problem from the occupation, and they put in prisons. Even they are children, especially in Jerusalem. Is it true?
I have no idea what you're
They
talking
use Facebook or.
I have no idea. I don't know what is the exact thing.
No, they use social media against occupation and children, age 10 and 12. They are prevented to go to school.
Maybe this is a subject for another day, I think.
Subject for another day.
Yes, I think so. Maybe you can have that conversation afterwards.
Alright.
But I think
They use Facebook.
The idea of monitoring
Okay.
Facebook.
Is monitoring?
Monitoring Facebook.
Thank you.
For any
Monitoring
activities
Facebook is different than her question, I think.
by the Israeli government. And
Yes, I
the
heard that.
Monitoring? Yeah.
not monitoring, control. Yeah, I mean, they
They
check
control.
what's being posted.
Yeah, watch it by Israeli
I
authorities.
never-
But
Not
I don't
allowed to
know,
them.
but I think-
If they use it,
That's
they.
what they say.
I heard that.
Yeah.
I think
أنا بس عشان وصلت 10 years old and 9 years old, what is the issue? بنناقشها. Monitoring is all over. Yes. It's all over the place. In any country, we are under it's all over. Everything is controlled. Right? everything is controlled or watched and controlled. Let's see.
And on that note,
So that was part of the theme of this last election in the U.S. was everything being controlled. But I want to thank Mayor Vera Baboun and Jane O'Brien for a great talk. Thanks very much for coming. Highly appreciated.
I need to thank you, Jane.
And also to thank Sandra Pepera and NDI's Gender, Women, and Democracy team for putting this gathering together. Highly appreciate it. I didn't get a chance to say anything. Go ahead. But I'll just mention that just on the NGO question, years ago, and this predates Mayor Baboun, NDI worked and helped support something called Bethlehem Emergency Committee. It was during the Second Intifada to help rebuild Bethlehem, which had been bombed and almost reduced to rubble in 2000. And so it does happen, and we worked directly with the municipality and came together with the city officials and provided funding and training and so on for rebuilding of Bethlehem in 2000. So it certainly does happen, may not happen as much now. But that's something that maybe we can pursue other partnerships down the road, and we'd love to do that. So.
Thank you. And that is a very important thing in order to distinguish, honestly. You know, when I said we have the Peace Center, we have the municipality and the cooperation and partnership as per the activity.
Right.
This is where
Specific
we build
activity,
the relation with NGOs.
Right.
And definitely, this is a very welcoming process.
Yeah.
And we need it because it is needed as well.
Yeah, and it's a good way to establish connections and to
Indeed.
marshal resources
Indeed.
and so on. But again, thanks everyone for coming. It was a great discussion, and thanks so much
Thank
for
you.